Thank you, Foreign Minister. Elise Labott with CNN. I have two questions for you. First of all, I think even in Israel and among some defense analysts, there's been an understanding that while the ceasefire may take effect, that there hasn't been a fatal blow, if you will, to Hamas, that they still may be able to launch some rockets at you, and you still are going to have this nagging problem of Hamas. So I'm wondering, if there is no ultimate military solution, what is the solution to dealing with Hamas so that you can get on with the business of negotiations with the Palestinians? And if you could talk candidly, if you will, the last few weeks have been kind of a devastating blow to the peace process. And ultimately, of course, you would like to get back to peace, but given the situation in the region, emotions are raw, there'll be a serious time of rebuilding for the Palestinians. Could you talk about the realistic chances for the Annapolis process and how you think you'll be able to get that back on track?
Yes, and thank you for your question. When we were here in Annapolis and Israel initiated, adapted this Annapolis process, we decided to act in a dual strategy. And what we are doing today in Gaza Strip is not against the peace process, but it serves the peace process. Because the idea is that Israel starts a peace talks with the pragmatic leadership in the Palestinian Authority. It means Mahmoud Abbas as the president and Salam Fayyad as the prime minister. And I'm the one who's nominated to be the Israeli chief negotiator. I had hours and hours of talks after Annapolis with Abu Ala, the representative on the Palestinian side. But in order to reach a peace process, this is something that we can do only with those who understand and share our vision and the international vision and the United States vision of two states for two peoples living side by side in peace and security. Hamas is not part of it. The region is being divided to two different camps. One is the camp of moderates, and the other is the camp of extremists, and Hamas belongs to the others. To those who cannot accept the right of Israel to exist, they don't support the idea of two states for two peoples because they don't accept the right of Israel to live. They spread agenda of hatred. They are part and they are being supported by Iran with missiles, by Syria when the headquarters are in Damascus, and Hezbollah. And during the military operation, they called Hezbollah to join this. And Hezbollah didn't join because we gained deterrence. So there are answers that a military operation can give. I'm not talking about Hamas as a movement. These were not the goals of the military operation. But Hamas is a terrorist organization who takes Gaza Strip as a place not in order to create some hope for the Palestinians, but to target Israel. We gave an answer. And if after the military operation they target Israel again, so we can launch another one and another one, because this is a war against terror. And a war against terror doesn't end with a peace process shaking hands in the White House. This is not the idea. And Israel, it's not anymore the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This belongs to the past. We have a conflict. I'm not trying to undermine this, excuse me. But in order to solve the conflict, we are working with a pragmatic leadership, with the legitimate Palestinian partners. And I know that usually people are asking about the need to strengthen the moderates. This is true. But it's a zero-sum game between Haniya and Abu Mazen, between Hamas and Fatah. And in order to strengthen the moderates and the legitimate government, we need to weaken the others. This is now the conflict. On one side, there is Israel, the legitimate Palestinian government, other moderate states in the region. They don't want Hamas to have any kind of victory on this because they have their own radical elements back home. So in changing the perception of the conflict, I hope that there is a better understanding that in doing so, we can continue the peace process. It doesn't stop the peace process. It helps the moderates. With them, we need to reach an understanding about all the core issues that need to be solved during this conflict. But as I said before, Hamas doesn't represent any aspiration, legitimate aspiration of the Palestinians. So they are not a partner for any kind of peace talks.
Russell Mokhiber, I believe. be short.
I'll try to do so with my answers.
I believe about 13 Israelis have been killed in this conflict. Human Rights Watch put out a report today saying more than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed, including 322 children, and more than 4,500 Palestinians have been wounded, including 1,600 children. The report accuses Israel of engaging in war crimes. In particular, it says that the Israeli Defense Forces have urged civilians in Gaza to go for their own safety, to go to the city center and then bomb the Gaza city center with 155 millimeter artillery shells. And it says that here's what it says. I'd like a response to this. By using this weapon in such circumstance, Israel is committing indiscriminate attacks in violation of the laws of war. I'd like your response to that.
No. Israel is acting not only according to the international law, but according to our values. And the Israeli soldiers are trying to avoid any kind of civil casualties. Before we started the military operation, we announced through the media, we asked them to leave places in which there are Hamas headquarters, and unfortunately they have Hamas headquarters in places in which they live. This is a highly populated place. Before targeting a house, we called. Israel made about 90,000 phone calls to citizens, asking them to leave before we target a place in which we know that we have Hamas headquarters, or a place in which they manufacture Qassam rockets to Israel. I would like to answer your question. Thank you. Now, a loss of a child is something which is terrible to any family. We are trying. No, I want before, but I would like. See, it's very important. It's very. It is. I would like to give an answer not to you, but to those who ask this question, and they really care, because we do care for the loss of life of civilians. Israel shown restraint for years, for 8 years, and in which our citizens, children, were under threat and attacks. We tried to avoid this operation, we showed restraint, we entered this truce, but nothing happened. But there is a huge difference, and I would like the international community to make this distinction. According to any international law and the values of the international community, there's a difference between somebody who killed deliberately, a murderer, and between somebody who killed by mistake. And I want the international community to judge Israel according to our values and what we are doing. And during this war, we try to avoid civil casualties, but these things happen, especially when Hamas is hiding among civilians, abuse the fact that they are not willing or they cannot tell them to leave these places. And we are trying to keep the humanitarian situation as better as we can. It's not a simple thing to do, especially not in Gaza Strip. But I would like to assure you that in each and every part of this operation, we are trying to avoid civil casualties. Thank you. Thanks. Please.
Peter, I'm sorry, you're allowing speeches. I'm sorry, Peter, I respect you tremendously, but you're allowing speeches here and you're allowing virtually no questions. Why did you, the Sam Husseini from IPA Media, why did you continue the blockade of Gaza? And you continue the blockade of Gaza. You've stopped several civilian boats from giving aid, the Free Gaza boat, for example. You cited a blockade as the cause for the 1967 war. When you had a truce with Hamas, you continued the blockade of Gaza, a cause for war by your own definition. And no, Peter, you're being very unfair, Peter. Why did you do that? Why did you, in effect, kill the ceasefire with a blockade and the November 4th action?
The crossings between Israel and Gaza are open for humanitarian needs, and they were open for humanitarian needs during the truce, before that, and even now during the military operation. Thank you. I think that you asked for short answers.
Foreign Minister, my name is Abdulrahim Fuqara from Al Jazeera. May I first of all just get you to respond to something we just got on AFP, which says Israel's Security Cabinet will vote on Saturday on a proposal for a unilateral ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, Israeli media reports said. Is there any truth to that, as far as you know?
I'm a member of the Israeli cabinet. I'm sure that I'm going to be invited. The Israeli cabinet will vote according to the Israeli interest. And let's wait for the cabinet meeting.
The question about Mauritania and Qatar. It's not a question, it's a question. It's not a follow-up. Israel and Qatar